Welcome to the Double R Show, the podcast that features everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, directed and produced by Paul Robertson and hosted by the voice of Lincoln City, Roger Robertson.
On our podcast this week, we're happy to welcome back State Representative David Gomberg. Good to have you here, David.
Always good to be with you and all your listeners, Roger. And it's been a busy few days in Salem.
Are you satisfied with it?
Am I satisfied? That's an awkward question.
Yeah, it is.
I feel like we're making progress. I feel like we're getting some good stuff done. And in particular for this district, I mean, I'll give you an example. And you've heard me talk about this over and over again, how small towns can't afford to pay for big projects.
True.
And here we are with water systems that are aging out. They're at capacity. Some of them are failing. And that means that we can't build new houses and we can't take care of the people who live here. Mm-hmm. I set out at the beginning of this session to help the city of Siletz find money they needed, about $3 million, to finish their sewer system. Here's a town of 1,100 people. They've got a $12 million sewer problem. And they can't help the tribe. They can't help build new houses. They can't help the people that live there now. I sat down to help them out. We ended up writing policy on water and sewer infrastructure for the entire state.
Versus just Siletz.
It's not just Siletz. Let me tell you, we wrote a package bill working together with a Republican co-sponsor that is going to address 50 projects around the state, about $100 million, and will open up the availability of housing production for about 11,000 new units.
Wow.
And here in Lincoln County, that's going to touch Siletz, it's going to touch Toledo, it's going to touch Lincoln City. Now, you put that on top of the work that we've done in recent sessions, again, just only on water, for Waldport, for the Port of Toledo, for Otis, where they were doing fire recovery and septic repairs, and here in Lincoln City, that's transformative. And you know, I keep saying sewer's not sexy. I mean, housing is exciting. Fixing sewer projects, it really doesn't make a lot of headlines.
Have the housing without the other.
But if you don't have clean water coming out of the tap or dirty water going down the drain, you don't have much of a future. Right. And so we dug in. That bill passed Ways and Means last night. It passed the Senate this morning. It's going to the Oregon House when we gather next time. And I believe it's going to make a transformative difference. I'm very proud of that. And that's just one of the successes that we've had in this short session.
In this session, and I may be wrong, I want your take on it. We had State Senator Dick Anderson on last week, and I made the statement to Dick, and he agreed. Get your take on it. I don't see the wrangling. I see cooperation in this session. Am I right?
So far, I mean, we're just a few days from adjournment. By the time this is on the air, we may have actually adjourned. But the rancor, the confrontation, the game playing, the walkouts, we haven't seen that this short session. I think that some people got the message that kind of extreme parliamentary reaction to challenges is not the answer. Other people got the message that maybe we need to dial it back a little bit and not be quite so confrontational, that it's easier to work together, focus on common concerns than it is to work in opposition to each other. A great example just today, and it's one of the other really big issues of the session. I mean, housing is what are on people's minds.
That was the governor's take too, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we started with the governor's bill and we worked it from there, and I had the bill come through the committee that I co-chair. I presented it to Ways and Means, and I will present it. I will be the carrier on the floor of the House. So believe me, we are deep into housing and water infrastructure and shelters and rent supports and revolving loan funds. That's a big deal. But the other big deal this session was trying to figure out what to do about Measure 110. Mm-hmm. Measure 110 was the measure that basically decriminalized the use of narcotics and tried to focus not on punishment and jail time, but rather on treatment. And Oregonians voted for that in a big way. And in the intervening amount of time, we learned that it just wasn't working. So we go into the Capitol. We've got some people that say, repeal it, get rid of it. Let's go back to crime and punishment. We've got other people saying, let's stay focused on treatment. And we had a committee that sat down, a bipartisan committee that tried to work out some kind of middle ground where We're encouraging people to get treatment, but if you refuse to get treatment, there are consequences. So there's incentives built into the process. And giving our police the tools they need to deal with drug dealers and some of the really life-threatening situations that they face, as well as trying to really urge and help people get the support that they really need. Now, hovering over all of that was a ballot measure that was going to really all but repeal Measure 110, take us back to the crime and punishment approach. The bill, with the compromises built into it, worked its way through the Senate and through the House, passed the House, I think, with only 4 no votes today. That's a big thing when you've got Democrats and Republicans agreeing on one of the issues that they really fundamentally disagreed with 4 weeks ago. So yeah, we're making progress, and I think in a way that's meaningful in the building, but more importantly, it's meaningful outside the building.
I do like not hearing the rancor. I saw you on television last night. You were leading some meeting. Now I can't remember what it was, but it was David Gomberg on TV statewide last night.
Well, I missed that, so I've got to. But be that as it may, it's probably the housing committee that I was chairing that put these packages together. But there's
it's got to make you feel good.
Well, I don't do this to get on television.
No, but knowing that you really did something of significant value for the residents and the people of Oregon, that's huge.
Well, yeah, let's start with this. It's hard work. It's really hard work, Roger. It's the hardest work I've ever done. It's also the most rewarding work I've ever done. And yeah, there are good days and there are other days. And on good days, you can bring home $2 or $5 million for a local water project or a community center or a welcome center or a port. And then there are also other good days where if somebody calls you up and said, I couldn't get my unemployment check, or I'm having problems with some kind of governmental agency, and you can make some phone calls and fix that problem for them, and that changes their lives as well. So sometimes you're helping communities, sometimes you're helping families, but there are days when you can make a difference, and that feels really special.
Making a difference. That's David Gomberg, State Representative. We're going to take a break, come back. I want to talk about marine reserves, another one of the topics that you've got a lot to deal with. Back in a moment.
Wouldn't it be great to have all your insurance needs handled by one agency? This is Charlotte Lado with Farmers Insurance and the Insurance Store. Visit our office next to the Wildflower Grill in Lincoln City. Let us be your one stop for your personal, commercial, health, and Medicare insurance needs.
We at La Roca are proud of our food, but don't take our word for it. Read the reviews. One person wrote, the service was friendly and efficient. Another writes, La Roca has become one of our favorites because it's authentic Mexican food.
Add to your personal library today with a book from Bob's Beach Books in the Ocean Lake area of Lincoln City. I'm Diana Portwood, and books provide a world of discovery. From science to science fiction, read what you've been missing.
If you're looking for great early garden fresh produce, it's Kenny's IGA in the Bay Area of Lincoln City. 4 generations of Morgans caring for your every grocery need. All of your favorite beverages, a full deli, meat, produce, and of course, groceries. Welcome back to the podcast. Our guest is State Representative David Gomberg, and one of the other items we wanted to bring to the table, I know that you've got a lot of expertise in marine reserves. Where's that bill at? What happened to it?
The bill's on the move.
Good.
The bill's going to pass. Look, marine reserves, these are kind of commerce-free zones off our Oregon coast. They're research centers. There's 5 of them off the Oregon coast. There's 3 of them off the coast of Lincoln County.
Right.
So yes, they're near and dear to my heart and very important to coastal Oregonians. We brought a bill forward that was going to continue them because they've been out there for 10 years, and we needed to renew our commitment to marine reserves, add some staffing, make clear what their future is going to look like based on recommendations from the Ocean Policy Advisory Council. That bill's moving. That bill came through Ways and Means last night. It's heading for the floor. It's going to pass. And that's great news. Now, there's another bill that's of consequence to particularly those of us on the coast, and it has to do with recreational immunity. Everybody says recreational immunity. What the heck is that?
And what is that?
Well, Oregonians love their open spaces. They love the outdoors. And to encourage access to the outdoors, to hiking trails, to biking paths, to our beaches, we have a statute that says that if you injure yourself in an open space like that you can't sue the property owner.
Okay.
They are immune. Now, this isn't about gross negligence. This isn't about creating a really dangerous situation. In legal terms, this is what we call ordinary negligence. And so we had this law that says you can't sue anybody. And we had a court case that actually came out of Newport where a woman was walking her dog to the beach. And she slipped on a bridge on the way to the beach, a wooden bridge, injured herself. She sued the city. The local court dismissed the case, recreational immunity. Her lawyers appealed and said she wasn't involved in recreation. She was on her way to the beach, and so recreation didn't start until she got to the sand. She was getting ready to recreate. Now, that blew the whole thing up. I mean, the insurance companies representing cities up and down the coast sent out a letter saying, we advise you to start closing your trails.
Oh, my.
Let me say that again. Closing your trails. More than 20 trails on the coast have been closed in response to this piece of legislation, because now if somebody gets hurt, they have to go to trial rather than just saying no thank you and dismissing it at the outset. You have to go to trial to find out whether the person was actually recreating. So there's the cost of a trial, even if you're going to win outright. So we've brought legislation that's clearing that up and making sure that open spaces are going to remain accessible to Oregonians. And certainly this is, we want safe spaces. We want safe playgrounds and biking trails and beach access. But imagine if the state had to take a look at every single beach access and decide whether there was the potential that somebody could slip on the gravel or on a rock as they were coming down.
They'd close it down.
They'd close down most of our beach accesses.
Certainly.
So we've brought legislation to try and keep that open. That bill is on the move, and I'm very pleased about that. I've got one more that I started working on. In a short session, you're only supposed to have 2 bills.
Right.
I mean, we're limited. But a senior legislator knows how to work that a little bit. And so I've actually got about 5 bills that I've been working on: recreational immunity and the housing package and marine reserves. There's another one coming through that just came across from the Senate. It says if you live in a fire zone and you got a major settlement from your insurance company or from somebody who caused the fire, then we're not going to tax you on the money that you got in that legal settlement. Now, I mean, the federal government's still going to tax you, and the lawyers are going to take their share. And maybe you've been awarded $100,000 for your losses, and by the time you're done, you only walk away with about $20,000.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. So we've got legislation, and I'm a chief sponsor of that legislation that says, wait a minute, Oregon at least is not going to dip into that money that is intended to help you get back on your feet. Mm-hmm. So that's another piece of legislation that's moving forward.
How would something like that affect the people in Otis?
Well, that's exactly who it's going to help.
Okay, even though they may have already rebuilt?
Well, the issue is, in Otis, a number of those people are parties to a lawsuit against Pacific Power.
True.
And those cases are in the process of getting resolved, and it appears that Pacific Power is going to be required to compensate those people who suffered losses in the after effects of the Echo Mountain fire. So the state is saying, when you get that money, we're not going to tax you on it.
That brings it home.
Well, I hope so. I mean, we've also passed legislation making it easier for people to rebuild, making it so that we're not going to adjust your property tax rates because you lost a 40-year-old single wide and now you've replaced it with a double wide, and suddenly your tax burden has tripled. So we're trying to take some steps to help there. We took some additional steps to require insurance companies to give you more time to rebuild because, there's a shortage of contractors out here. You lost your home, you want to build a new home, so does everybody on your block.
At the same time.
At the same time. And the insurance companies say, you've got to rebuild within 2 years. And we're saying, hey, wait a minute. That's just not practical when so many homes in a single neighborhood have been impacted. And one more bill real quick, Roger, because we talked about this last time I was in the air, was my bill to help animals.
Yes.
It was a bill, and I won't go into the really very disturbing details, but essentially it says that if people are taking pictures of animals being hurt and selling those pictures for a profit, that it's against the law in Oregon. It's already against the federal law.
Before, it couldn't go over a state line.
That's right. It's against the federal law, but in order to have the federal law apply, it had to involve interstate commerce,
Right.
take it out of state. If somebody was just keeping it in state, there was no law against it. Now there's going to be a law against it. If you're
Very
torturing animals for profit,
Go to jail.
you go to jail. Yeah, and we're passing that bill, and I'm very pleased with that. So you asked me a few minutes ago if we're getting things done, if we're making progress in so many different ways. I feel good about this short session.
Is it better 2 short sessions than 1 elongated session and a short?
Well, here's the fundamental difference between a short session and a long session, and it's the 2-year state budget.
Okay.
We write a 2-year budget in the long session. And yeah, we're allowed to introduce as many bills as we want. I told somebody in a long session, we have 6 months for 3,000 bills. In a short session, we've got 6 weeks for 300 bills. It's a different process. And if you're going to be successful in a short session, you got to be ready to go before you get there. You got to lay the foundation. You got to have everything all squared away. You've got to make sure there aren't any hiccups, problems, conflicts, and you've got to make sure you got the votes before you get started. The long session, you got time to back up, take a breath, and regroup. In a short session, you've got to be on the move from day one, or you're going to fall behind, and that'll be the end of it.
A short session that is making a difference in the lives of Oregonians. David, thanks for being here. State Representative David Gomberg, making a difference. Back in a moment.
Feet on your knees. Blue Oyster Cult is back live. Saturday, March 9th at Chinook Winds Casino Resort. The red and the black is back. BOC. All the hard rock anthems. Blue Oyster Cult, live in concert. Saturday, March 9th at Chinook Winds Casino Resort. Tickets on sale now at ChinookWinds.com. Chinook Winds box office. Order by phone at 1-888-MAIN-ACT. Feel the thunder of Blue Oyster Cult. Chinook Winds, where concerts are better at the beach.
From the Oregon Coast Community College, Dave Price is with us. And Dave, we've invited you to come back again and talk a little bit more about this bond measure that is going to be on the ballot in May.
Yes, sir, in the May primary election.
How will that affect Lincoln City and North Lincoln County?
Well, first, I think it's important to note that this OCAT, the Oregon Coast Advanced Technology and Trade Center, is going to benefit every corner of the county. My son right now is commuting to Newport to pursue his transfer degree. Mm-hmm. Someone in his shoes in Lincoln City or Otis or Rose Lodge or what have you will be able to commute to Newport, whether in their own vehicle or using Lincoln County Transit, to access this facility to get the pre-apprenticeship or other trades education that they want.
And it's trades education is what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so in addition to that, there are those elements that I know one of the reasons you had asked me back, and thank you for the invitation, was to talk a little bit about what happens should this bond measure pass in terms of North Lincoln County and our center here. One of the things that we look to do is, first off, I would invite anyone listening who hasn't been inside our building recently to come in and tour. Among other things, over the summer, we invested $500,000 in a brand new nursing sim lab.
Upstairs.
Mm-hmm. Now, that nursing expansion is not just cool to look at new mannequins. It has helped double the capacity of our nursing program. Every Tuesday and Thursday here in Lincoln City, we have something in the neighborhood of 40 students in the community room for more than half the day. So we're going to be able to, knock on wood, I won't do it here in the studio, but we're going to be able to graduate twice the number of nurses that we normally do.
Is it the same program that you had in Newport that is now in Lincoln City?
The idea was to make sure that there was no difference, that we're equitably distributed throughout the county, and if we're going to expand, we want to expand in Lincoln City. And so, yes, it is an identical system, except for that our mannequins are newer and they're pretty fascinating, and it's amazing what they can do. And that $500,000, I should hasten to add, did not come from taxpayers directly. It came from congressionally directed spending in a grant that was secured a year ago. And we thank Senators Merkley and Wyden for that support.
And that nursing program is critically needed, as are welders.
And indeed. And so So this is the kind of example that we point to when we say that these bond measures will have impact well beyond Newport or Waldport or certainly even Lincoln City. And one of the things that's going to happen with the proceeds of this building, we anticipate if this bond is successful, and as we talked about in a past show, it's a continuation levy, which means that if it's approved, nothing happens until July 1st of 2025, when normally we're going to retire. We are going to retire the bonds that built the buildings we're in today. So we will be able to burn that mortgage, Lincoln City. You own the North County Center. Thank you. But we'd like to say, gosh, paying this 21 cents a thousand is so much fun. Let's continue it for another 20 years.
It didn't hurt, and it's going to help.
I think there's a lot it could do. And beyond that center, once we get a firm estimate, and we can't do this because the architect's not going to do it until we have a past bond to be able to say, this is the hard cost of this new facility. Here's $8 million in match from the state for that new facility. You've raised approximately $31 to $33 million locally with your property tax ballot measure. Here's what's left over to invest in other career-focused and emergency preparedness-focused and safety-focused projects. We want to modernize our facilities. These facilities, including our building in Lincoln City, were designed before Facebook was a thing, right? And so we're talking about they were in the books in 2003, 2004. Mm-hmm. So a lot has changed. Among other things, our security cameras are low resolution. They are recorded to DVD disc.
Sure.
There's a variety of things that we need to do to improve the safety of our guests and of our students. But beyond that, we think that there's opportunities to improve the safety of our entire community.
How so?
Like you, I was here for the evacuation during the Echo Mountain fire. And it's safe to say that we suffered from a lack of regular on-ground communication. It was unfortunate that much of what was happening was being reported to radio stations in Newport, and then waiting for their news cycle to come around to the next news break, and then piping it back to Lincoln City. I know this for a fact because my neighbor came over. She's new to the town, and she was distraught, as you can imagine, and wanted to know, where do I tune? And I gave her some suggestions. She sat in her driveway because her car has the best radio in the house, and she heard the station she tuned to say, and now another 30 minutes of uninterrupted rock and roll. And she's like, I don't want that. I need an update.
Information.
So one of the plans that we have is to invest in a low-power FM station that would be installed at the North County Center. We already have generator power. We'd like to improve that generator as well to sort of harden that backup resource and to provide a source for a place where people can go outside of the tsunami zone without concern about power or lack thereof and broadcast so long as the information we're gathering is coming from on-the-ground sources. And that's still going to be a hurdle, no doubt. But we want to be able to provide emergency information to our community in a way that is reliable and that cannot be interrupted by something as simple as a power outage.
When you're talking about a low-power radio station, you're talking about what kind of coverage?
The model that we're looking at, and there's a variety of different ones, talks about a 45-mile range in a radius. Mm-hmm. But, of course, that radius shrinks when you get into hills. And so we understand that we're broadcasting from the top of a hill near at Spanish Head, where the college is located. However, we understand that we're probably looking at something like 12, 13-mile radius. But most of the Lincoln City area,
most of North Lincoln County,
probably including to Rose Lodge, and that area where I used to live, 5 miles out.
Critically needed.
Yeah, and so it may be that the community says that that's not where we need to be investing these resources. And so with the passage of the bond, not just here in Lincoln City, but also in Waldport and in Newport, we'll be having community meetings and forums to say, hey, we have this amount of funding left over. We've allocated this amount to the North County Center. What are the priorities? Exactly. And those meetings can be maddening when you don't have guaranteed funding. But if you've already pledged the funding and you know it's there, they suddenly become a lot more meaningful.
Dave Price, Oregon Coast Community College. Back in a moment.
Northwest Septic Service is your one-stop shop for all your septic needs.
Northwest Septic Service offers pumping, maintenance, repair, and inspections with one call, 541-994-6977.
Buying or selling a home? Northwest Septic Service can inspect your sewer line or an entire septic system.
Old or failing septic system? Northwest Septic Service can rejuvenate most drain fields, saving you thousands of dollars. 541-994-6977.
Serving Lincoln, Tillamook, and Yamhill counties, Northwest Septic Service.
I'm Adina Zeller. Zellers is now in 2 North Lincoln County locations. The original Zellers in Rose Lodge and now Zellers in Lincoln City, formerly Maxwell's. Zellers with great family food and kickin' fun like our line dancing. Just wait until you try our homemade clam chowder.
At the Bijou with Keith Altamir. And Keith, the Oscars are about to come on stage again. Your picks?
It's Oppenheimer for me. If you haven't seen Oppenheimer, it's now available online to watch. Watch it, but do one thing. Do not have your phones nearby. Don't go into the kitchen. Just watch it and be absorbed by it because it is one hell of a picture.
What makes Oppenheimer your pick? What makes it that much better than the rest?
It is, and Roger, you've gone to many movies as well, and some you leave and go, yeah, that was fun. That is an experience. Oppenheimer educated you. You heard and saw acting that you rarely ever see work together. And Oppenheimer told me a lot, and I knew a decent amount about what happened, but I learned so much more in that period of time. And it's a long movie. It's close to 3 hours, I think. But it is worth every minute that you can spend in front of TV or hopefully a theater and watch it.
Do you have a pick for Best Actor and Actress?
I really don't. I try not to do that and for one reason, I'm always wrong. So I just don't want to be wrong. It's like occasionally I pull one out, but I will tell you there's a movie that people should find. It's called Anatomy of a Fall. It is a foreign film. It is brilliant. Hopefully your producer has seen it. If he has not seen it, he needs to. But it is just an amazing movie that people, friends of the Bijou Theater, should definitely see.
What's next at the Bijou Theater?
We are playing Dune 2. Dune 2 will start Oscar weekend. It is going to be very, very big here at the theater, as is. It's around the world. I think in America, I think it did about 75, 80 million on the first week. So we're looking forward to that. Looking forward to paying bills. American Express is calling, and we're about to answer.
That's always a good thing.
Always a good thing. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time, and wherever I go, people are listening to your podcast. So now I know you're still around.
They must see it on the billboard here at the Bijou Theater.
Oh, yes, they do, with a picture. Oh, no, it's not you, a young lady. I think we have a picture promoting that. But, yes, we do have a slide, and it's a great-looking one for your podcast, and it should be heard by everyone every time you get a second to do it.
Bijou Theater been in Lincoln City a long time.
1937, even longer than you.
My gosh, you're right.
Yeah.
It's older than I.
It is older than you, and then you can't say that about many, many things.
Keith Altamir at the Bijou Theater. As we conclude today's program, let's look at some of the other activities in and around the Lincoln City area, including the City Council will have their regular meeting on March 11th, Monday the 11th, 6 o'clock at City Hall. On Wednesday, March the 13th, 4 o'clock, Public Arts Committee meets, regular meeting time. And on Tuesday, March 19th, the Lincoln City Planning Commission meets at 6 p.m. again in council chambers at City Hall. You've got a big event forthcoming as we're going to be painting fish.
Yeah, the Gyotaku Masterclass again, right?
Tell me about that again.
March 16th at the Pelican, Duncan Berry is going to lead a workshop. It's a 6-hour workshop, so this is an intensive full day. Comes with lunch, too, so lots of benefits to just learning about how to print fish in front of these beautiful windows that's at the Pelican, right? So
it's just a marvelous activity.
Yeah. So registration, cascadehead.org, and there are a few seats left. So, yeah.
But this sells out.
We hope to, yeah. Right now we're about 2/3 full, so we've got a few seats left, yeah.
And again, how do we get a hold of either yourself or send an email or what?
Best thing to do, go to cascadehead.org and go to the events page, and you can register online right there. $300 for the 6-hour class, and we'll hope to see you there.
And speaking of Cascade Head, celebrate Earth Day with West Wind. That's coming up April 20th, 10 to 3. Going to be quite an activity. Duncan Reed was at the Chamber of Commerce meeting talking about that weeks or so ago.
You know, if you haven't been over to West Wind, this is your window to get over there and see this beautiful facility. They're going to have hikes. They're going to talk about the new nature trail. Raindrop to Sea Trail that's opening up, but also just seeing the space as a whole. It's just an amazing place.
I am embarrassed to say I've lived here 50 years and I haven't been there yet.
This is your chance.
This is my chance.
April 20th, yeah.
Grief support group in-person meetings are taking place at Samaritan North Lincoln Hospital campus 2 to 3 the first and third Tuesdays of each month. And for more information, call Evergreen Hospice at 574-1811. Shop online, if you will, or on your computer. The Lincoln City Chamber of Commerce virtual super auction comes off March 20th through 27. We do have a package that is going to be offered up as well from the Double R podcast.
Correct. Yeah, an advertising package worth $350. It's going to be 2 interviews and 12 15-second ads. So there's your first promo for it.
There it is. Bid and bid heavy. You can't embarrass us by paying too much.
That's true.
Yeah, can't do that. And again, the super auction is March 20th through 27th. It is online. The Chinook Winds Casino Resort invites you to a special activity on behalf of the city. The city is building a new community park, and they're going to have a silent auction, a complimentary nibbles, no-host cash bar, raffle, and more. This is going to be taking place up at the casino. It is a fun activity to raise money for that new park, and that new park is going to be just absolutely dazzling.
That's for sure. Yeah, it's going to be an amazing space down there in the Taft area in Lincoln City.
Just can't beat it. Anything else on your side of the table?
Well, we got a trivia question.
Oh, we do, and we got a prize from Chinook Winds.
That's right, yeah.
And the trivia question is?
Yeah, so the trivia question for the week is, how old is the Bijou Theater? And let's include the time that it was lakeside and as well.
From beginning to today.
Beginning to today.
Okay, so how many years has the Bijou Theater been showing the best in films right here in Lincoln City? And the prize is?
It's going to be good for 1 buffet admission or $30 at any of the other food outlets at Chinook Winds Casino Resort.
Great, wonderful item. And again, the question is, how many years has the Bijou Theater been in existence right here in Lincoln City?
Send your answers to roger@doublershow.com to enter that, and we'll announce the winner next week.
One final item forthcoming. Saturday is the Home and Garden Show. It is an opportunity not only to find out what you can do for building for the spring and summer, but also there's going to be a number of other booths up there, including travel.
Cool, yeah.
Going to be giving away wine.
Yeah.
3 bottles of wine, compliments of Always Traveling, going to be given away at the Home and Garden Show up at Chinook Winds, and that's all day Saturday. I think the doors open sometimes around about 9 o'clock in the morning, so come and enjoy the Home and Garden Show. And that will do to the doings on the Double R Show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share so you, your family, and friends around the world and across the street can join us right here on the Double R Show. For Paul, Jana, I am Double R. Have yourself a happy day.
You've been listening to The Double R Show. Join Roger and Paul Robertson as they explore everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, produced by Always Productions and hosted by Roger Robertson. Have a story? Email contact@alwaysproductions.com or call 458-201-3039. For The Double R Show, I'm Jana Grawn.